What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Rated G. I'm your host, Celine, alongside my co-host, Noor, and guess who's not here? Sarah! But she got replaced.
She got an upgrade.
She got an upgrade. Alysha Newman. Now, she represented Team Canada in 2016 and 2020. The list goes on. I'm just going to read what we have down here. Commonwealth Games winner, top 8 twice at World Champions, top 8 at World Indoor Champions, Pan American Games bronze medalist, named Maxim's Hot 100 Women.
2021.
Absolutely insane. Alysha, first off, thank you so much for being here at the Homestand Studios.
So excited to be here. I love podcasts like this. I love conversations, and especially because it's female. You know, I'm a big fan of this part.
Female empowerment, guys. Female empowerment. So first things first, as I just went through this whole list, because we're going to professional here, and then we'll kind of get into just talking about life and all that. Did you have an active childhood?
I did.
You did?
I feel like I did, but I also knew very young I was different. I feel I remember briefly being at recess, and when the girls would talk gossip, I'd be like, I don't want to be here. Not because they were talking bad, but it was just more so I was like, I want to go and run. I want to go and play soccer, baseball with the guys. So I feel like my lifestyle was always a very different than I feel like what society expected from young children, you know. I hated sitting down in class. I would be counting down the minutes to get out of school. And it's not that I didn't love learning. I love learning, but I hated the way they taught everyone the same way. So I think I'm just one of those people that I break these boundaries and I'm always looking outside. Well, why do they do it that way? What about a different way? I think I'm that kind of person in life and who I am as a person in general.
Now, what about pole vaulting? How did you find your love for that? Because usually when you think of the Olympics, there's so many different sports. How did you know that was the one that you wanted to go for?
I always tell people it chose me. It was one of those things I knew I wanted to go to the Olympics probably when I was training about 25 hours a week of gymnastics. And I thought that that's when I was 11 years old doing that. So I was half day in school and half day in gym. And when I had to retire at 13 because I hurt my back, I knew I needed to find something else, but I didn't love anything else as much as I loved my first love of sport, which was gymnastics. So as I started getting older and I was doing track and it was fun, but it wasn't there was nothing grabbing my soul and my heart, if you could say. I felt like it was more to stay in shape when I was at the track. And then as soon as someone said, why don't you try pole vault, I actually was really bored of it because you had to learn 3 months. You couldn't compete. You couldn't just go and try out what are your times or your heights. You had to actually learn the event because due to safety, you can't just fling yourself in the air the first day you do it, you know?
Absolutely.
So long story short, it took 3 months and I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to like this. I tried my first meet and I broke the meet record. And I think the recognition of seeing my name on a piece of paper and realizing nobody in that competition has ever jumped higher than me gave this sense of fulfillment that I haven't felt in sport ever in my life. And I was 15 at the time, and I think that that's what kept me coming back. And then I broke the Canadian record and I broke the youth record, and then I own probably 20 to 60 records worldwide.
Wow.
It's just these records. It's not even winning anymore. It's how can I be the best of the best and say I was the best ever to jump in that competition or in the world? And that's what we're training for now, world record.
Yeah, he actually knew she was different.
Yeah.
Look at her
Athlete's
now.
mentality.
She was no, I don't want to play with dolls. I know what I'm supposed to be here to break records.
Yeah.
But don't you remember doing that in school too? Remember gym class? Have you never did that, pole vaulting, gym class?
Never. I
You guys
wouldn't
never
even
did that?
dream. I never did
Oh.
pole vault. Actually, no. Did we? We did high jump.
Yeah.
It was high jump, right?
Oh.
We
High
did
jump
high
is
jump.
it's very common to do, but I think teachers really just don't know how to
It's the
teach.
safety
It's
factor.
Yeah,
you
and the
said,
safety
absolutely.
too, right? And they don't have the mats and the layouts,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, pole vault is not something
And how do
we try
you
to
teach
do.
a kid how to pole vault if
Yeah.
you as a teacher can't do it yourself either? I'm
True.
sure they can't, right? So yeah, no, I remember doing shot put. That was the only thing
Oh,
I was
I
good
remember
at.
that one.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was my bread and butter for the track
That's
and
some
field.
strength behind you, girl.
Oh, their right arm is good, guys.
I love that. Oh, awesome.
You got one more?
One more? You want me to go one more?
Yeah.
Okay, I love how we're splitting the questions here. I go, then you
Yeah.
go, and then I go, then you go. Okay, so you also joined Eastern Michigan University, then
Yes.
transferred to the University of Miami. So what was the journey like as a student athlete?
I knew I wanted to go to the States. And
How hard was it to get into the States? Because I've heard that it's so difficult, especially being a Canadian going to American school.
So I wonder if it's different if you're not in like athletics. Like for athletics, you
get a scholarship too, right?
You get scholarship, so you're very fortunate. And if you have really good grades in Canada, then they split you. So you're actually helping the school out by going half academic scholarship and half track scholarship or whatever sport you do. But for me, I think the hard part was I wasn't good at SATs. So I had to get a teacher or a tutor to help me get ready for them. But in the States, they do them every year in high school, where you just write them once or twice in your grade 12 year. And if you pass, you will get your scholarship. But if you don't, you don't. And then they came out with the ACTs, which is more science-based, more, I guess you could say, like math and science, a lot less like literature. And I loved science. I loved data. I loved learning about, like, the human body. So I aced that right away. And so we decided pretty much failed my SATs, but passed my ACTs. And it all worked out in the end. So that was the hardest part. But once I was there, I was so excited I got to start over. Like, I got to start this new. Who does Alysha Newman want to be for the next 4 years?
Yeah.
That's how it is. When you move somewhere different and, like, you're in a completely different environment, you get to recreate yourself.
Exactly.
And I think that's what all of us would love to have the chance to do. Like, you know?
What was your priority in that move when you were trying to discover yourself as a new person in the States?
Yeah, I don't remember briefly, but I do remember, like, oh, I can't wait to be Canadian and beat all the Americans.
Like,
that was like my only thing. Like, as much
the
as
rivalry between the States and Canada is like, it's crazy.
Well, and that's the thing. My mom she moved. She's actually American, and she moved to the States to Canada when she was 13. So she couldn't sponsor me. So we were filing for dual citizen at that time, and my agents at that time in the school was like, well, why don't you compete for America? And I was like, you know what? I think it's so. Like, I think it's beautiful to see how many athletes and how hard it is to make an Olympic team there. But there's this sense of, like, ego and pride that you're outside of America and you beat Americans as a different culture. I just don't know. I was like, I didn't want to, like, blend into all the athletes in America. I really, like, obviously I was born and raised here, and my mom only lived there for 13 years of her life. Right. But it was just something in my head that I was like, no, there's this, like, sense of, like, pride that I can walk around and it's like, I beat the Americans, you know? And I don't know where that come from, but that was, like, one of my number one thing is, like, how do I use them to benefit me to represent Canada the best way.
Right. Like, you weren't letting yourself get lost in the sauce of the States. You're like, I'm still going to be the Canadian that's come here to beat these people.
Yeah. And I was cooler because I was international.
Yeah. You're exotic blood to them. They're like, whoa, a foreigner, guys. She's Canadian.
No, but you know what? It's actually really funny how so many Americans think of Canadians as, like, these, like, people that live in igloos. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I know.
Such a different concept of Canadians.
How was your experience like that? Like, as a Canadian in American society with American kids, how did you feel that you were embraced with that public?
Yeah, I feel like I blended right in. I felt like obviously people knew I was a foreigner, but I think it kind of, like, benefit me. Like, I had a little bit more spotlight on me. I had a lot more, you could say, awareness from Canada, and then here definitely helped with my brand. And when Instagram started, I guess, because I went to school in 2012. Right. Instagram's kind of just started at that time. Yeah. So it was very fun for me to use that type of platform because I was different no matter where I went because I was Canadian. But every American blended in as an American. Right. So it was fun for me because I stood out whether I liked it or not. And I like standing out. I like the spotlight. I enjoy that. That's where I, like, get that, like, excitement to pole vault. It's like I'm almost like a Cirque du Soleil act, I call it. It's like I go there for entertainment. It's not really about jumping high these days. It's like I go and I get people excited, and people are in the stands watching me to take a break from what their normal life is. And I think it's such a rewarding thing for me, and that's where I get a lot of my excitement from.
Well, we know that you've branded yourself pretty successly, even
despite geniusly.
Amazingly. But I do want to mention that you came about in a time in the NCAA where I think you've probably heard of NIL, the name, image, likeness policy. Yes. So that wasn't around when you were there. No. How's your take on the young athletes with that now?
You know what? I'm envious of them. Yeah, I'm so proud and so happy that they've moved that around because it's true. Like, there was offers right, left, and center for me when I was there. And we had to say no because we weren't allowed to accept any money from any booster. But I think being a young athlete, this is the pros and cons of being an athlete. You never know when your last competition is going to be. You never know when maybe you're just going to be a university star and you won't go professional after. Maybe you don't want to go professional after. So why wouldn't you monetize that and give the athletes that platform to monetize? Because not everybody's end-all be-alls is to go to professional, go to the Olympics and be an all-time athlete. Some people want to go to school after or start a job or start a business.
Right.
And so I think that now that they've switched that around, I'm so grateful that they've done that for the athletes. I wish I could go back 4 years.
You've been doing amazing. I watch your social media. 600,000 on Instagram alone is something that so many of us dream to have one day. So how did you get to that level for yourself without that kind of department helping you out?
Yeah, I think that the best thing was just never stop like who I wanted to be. So I every time I post, it's very organic. Every time I share a story or I want people to know something, it's not what do people want to see or hear. It's like who I actually am. So then it never stops. But then it's also like, I remember my sister saying when I was young, she was like, always stick to 5 things that you want to represent. And 5 of those things was like, I love that feminine, sexy power side. I love being a one-off. Like I love being a one-hit wonder thing because of like pole vault and high-end athletes. It's hard to stay number one, especially in individual sports, every single competition. So it was like, how can I make a monumental moment? Well, for me, it was Commonwealth Games. I rode on that. Like everyone knew in the pole vault world, like I came in that meet and I should not have won. So I was the underdog and I rolled off of that. So my posts were being about an underdog. So it was, I never tried to be what everyone else wanted me to be. And I think people can see through it. It's very easy to see through it because you can find stories and I guess you could say interviews about me anywhere. Like I might as well just be my voice that I want people to hear. And that's the hardest part in track and field is reporters. You tell them and you're so vulnerable, and I open up to every single reporter, and my agents are always like, Alysha, you say too much. And I was like, but I want them to know backstories.
Absolutely.
But they take words and they take sentences and they put them as headlines, and it's like, you just made this whole beautiful story about me making a comeback about something different. I'm like, come on.
That's exactly what they do, though. They
I
do that
know.
with everything. It's pretty wild. So you just have to really stay true to yourself. That's
The
it.
whole time.
I think that's how social media has helped athletes like yourself, where you can come in and have your own voice and say your own things, because it came to a point where they have to decide whether or not you want to let people into your life or just be that robot in the press conference and not saying anything at that point. But you've clearly learned how to monetize yourself, how to brand yourself. I know you're an OnlyFans queen.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to let you walk us through the whole process because this is genius.
Yeah,
Any woman listening, genius. I'm going to be trying that out afterwards. So walk us through, Alysha. What was the whole process behind getting an OnlyFans started in the Olympics?
Yeah. So I think the whole reason behind it, I did really want to connect to fans that wanted to support me on a different level. I was already sexualized in the public eye. I had no choice. It's what we wear. I love it though. I think my body's beautiful. I think I'm beautiful. And I don't mind showing a little more skin than some people are comfortable with. And for me, it was something that I knew COVID happened. The fans couldn't come and watch us. No one was allowed to support us in a way that like I vibe off of people in the stands. So I said, how can I make an experience without developing my own software when we have literally 2 weeks before I head to the Olympics? And I was like, let me launch an OnlyFans. Let me wear a camera while I'm going through the Olympic Village on training days, and people can pay to watch me at the Olympics and behind the scenes, because even if you do come and get tickets for Paris, for example, my family's all coming, but they still don't know what the Olympic Village is like. So I was like, let me launch it for 16 days and let's go from there. Well, like I said, it was like 45 seconds, I had 5,000 followers sign up. It was insane. And I started shaking because I hadn't seen that type of income that fast, right? It was like my first time of being like, oh my gosh, Mom, where do I put all this money? Like, what do I do? And then after it went, like, obviously my Olympics didn't go well in 2020 with my concussion. Well, 2021. I was injured heading there. And that was another reason. It was like, why should I sit and be so sad at the Olympics when I can go there knowing I'm not going to do well, but I deserved being there because I made it in 2019. I was third in the world heading into 2020. COVID happened, got my concussion in 2021. Like, what are we supposed to do? You know, it's things happen, life happens, but let's benefit from this somehow. So I monetized, made a ton of money, and I said I might as well just keep it. So thankfully, my fans had stayed really, really close, and we just keep with them. They come to my practice. I go live once a week at my practices. And for me, it took, like, I could just say, like, a really strong skin to, like, not let people be like, oh, she's doing porn or she's doing that. But at the end of the day, I knew what I was doing on there, and the only people that I cared was the people that were on there. As long as they were happy and they were satisfied on my OnlyFans, I didn't really care what the tabloids and everyone else around me. And nor has, like, any sponsor for an Olympic athlete offered me that much money at once. You know? Yeah. So it's like, at the end of the day, it's like these pros and cons, and it's like, yes, a gold medal will bring me money. It still will never bring me as much money as I made in that 45 seconds. Do you know what I mean?
It's wild to think of, though. Like, I want to start up an OnlyFans now, too. I think because most people, when you think OnlyFans, you think of, like, OnlyFans being, like, essentially like a porn site or something like that. But you can really utilize OnlyFans in so many different ways. And
I was
you
on
capitalized
Cameo,
on that one.
And I was on Cameo, and I loved it. But the Cameo was more benefiting to the user. Like, it was like they would request, I want a video and I want you to say this and I want to say this. But I was like, it was too much individualized. I needed a platform that would allow me to post, kind of like Instagram, what I want to post, but also have these one-offs where people would pay me, like, for example, for me to FaceTime, like a guy, somebody's that was on my OnlyFans best friend. It was their bachelorette. I FaceTimed them for 10 seconds, and they paid me $2,500.
Wow.
Yeah, just wishing them, like, I hope you have a great time. Where they were in Nashville at the time. Like, have so much fun in Nashville. How are you guys doing? What are you up to? And they're all drunk on the other side. And I was like,
oh my God.
There was nothing, like, sexual. I was actually at the track. I was at the track, and they had put the time they needed it in. And it's just stuff like that. Like, if I can make their day, but monetize because of my brand, like, why wouldn't I do it? There's no platform out there that's doing it like that. And you have full control. You put out what you want. And I even do, like, once a month, I do Sexy Saturdays. So the little bit more lingerie, the bathing suits, the little, like, more frisque angles, I do that. But that is only to people that want to see it. They have to ask for it. Like, it's not posted on my feed, you know? So it's just
Me
always...
and Noor getting tips over here.
Our
brain is just going like this as I'm trying to do.
for a 10-second video. Count me on.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's amazing.
Anything. And they people want to know the littlest things. And that's, like, actually makes me happy. They're like, so, like, if we saw you didn't do so well, like, how are you recovering? Like, what's the next steps that you are going to do to, like, become better at this competition?
Right.
And I'm like, I actually don't know. And it, like, helps me think. So I'm connected to my fans, and they're actually helping me, like, innerly. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more personable, too.
I was going to say, so would you say this is more of a spot for you to talk to your fans and interact with them? And I think they probably feel more closer to you having a platform like that too, right?
Well, and being able to share, like, people wouldn't be able to live my life ever, right? Because it's me.
Absolutely.
And I would never be able to live your life or your life. But at least if I can give somebody an excitement, being like, oh my gosh, that's what the Olympic Village is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they do this. Wait, they party hop condos. Like, we get this huge text saying, okay, let's all go to the Australian house. And I'm like, oh. And, like, I get to share that with people and, like, then make them feel like they're a part of it. So I don't know. To me, it's all benefit, and obviously,
I think
people have their opinions, but
you had the glass half full of mindset to it, because, as you said, you were injured and you had to go to this event, and you thought, how do I make this the best experience, not just for myself but for people who are watching, and what do they want to see? Because for us, you can't get the insight of the village. Like, I just picture it like a frat house. I don't really know what actually goes down.
Condoms everywhere. Yeah, all that.
Magnum, leftovers on the ground.
Oh wow, you're going big, Noor, on that one.
Am I? Yeah. Oh, my bad. Maybe some of them aren't that big, but we'll see. Yeah.
They have all different sizes.
Yeah, exactly.
Latex free, all of it.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Alysha, for joining us today
it was fun.
on rated G.
We had like 1,000 more questions, but Alysha is so in demand.
Yeah,
at the Home
I know.
Studios
I
today,
feel
so
she
I
is
gotta-
very-
No, don't
so
even.
so much to do today, but it's good. I'm like so excited. We'll have to revisit after Worlds
Yes, please.
with my medal.
Absolutely. You know,
And after we're on OnlyFans too.
Yeah,
Then
perfect.
we'll-
Let me know. I'll sign up. I'll subscribe.
Yeah,
Yeah, collab.
collab.
Oh, that works too. That works too.
I love it.